I'm noticing a trend where when I say something like, I think Charlie Kirk was racist, somebody will respond with something like, he wasn't racist, he just thought this. And I will say something like, yeah, that's why I think he's racist. That's the racist part. And then they'll say something to the effect of, no, you just need to hear him explain it because he explains why it's not racist. And here are the problems that exist with that. The first is that you're using the source to validate the source. If Charlie Kirk was racist, and he was, then he cannot explain why he's not racist, because he's working from a racist framework. Everything he believes is racist. He just didn't realize it. He explained why he doesn't think that it's racist, but he just doesn't understand racism. The other side to that coin is that Charlie Kirk was a white man, and as white men, he and I don't get to dictate what is and isn't racist. Racism is a system that was established by white people once we started categorizing and controlling other people based on their race. And that's not to say that only white people have ever noticed that other people had different color skin. I'm saying that white people are the ones that categorized it into a phenomenon. And the third thing is that, even though this hasn't been explicitly said, it's based on this implication that, oh, I just don't understand this as well as Charlie did. Charlie was just smarter than me, and he is able to explain why it's not racist, and I'm not. But what's actually happening is that you're just having the rest of the conversation, the part that Charlie never showed you. It is a lie that airlines were lowering their standards so that people of color could become pilots. It is a lie that 13% of the population is committing 50% of the crime. But when Charlie would bring up these points in front of these kids that were like 8 to 12 years younger than him and didn't have the experience or the time to prepare that he had, if they're being intellectually honest, they aren't going to sit there on the spot and say that's not true if they haven't had the chance to check that information yet. That's why lying is so effective in a debate with someone who's honest, because someone who's honest knows that they haven't seen the study that you just made up. And even if somebody was knowledgeable enough right then to call him on his lie and say that's not true, he would use this other tactic that I've seen you all use and say, can you prove that that's not true? No, you can't prove that that's not true. What source do you suspect that a person can reference in order to cite that a thing did not happen? What agency is collecting data on things that don't happen? It's not Charlie's explanation that convinced you that it wasn't a racist thing to say. It was the lack of the response to his explanation that convinced you that he was correct. If you ever watch him talk with actual intelligent people that tell him why he's wrong, and stop telling yourself that they only think that because they're brainwashed libs, you will see people explain to Charlie Kirk why he's wrong and why what he said was racist. You're also implying that Charlie Kirk is not only smarter than you, but smarter than every person that you talk to, and that just isn't true. Charlie Kirk was not a smart person.